Hey YouTube, this is Scarecrow Kaiser. I am going to do a deck profile here. It'll be another Pale Moon deck profile. This will be for Breakride Chelsea. This deck is very fun, very fun. It's a lot different than Silverthorns. Silverthorns are a lot more straightforward and the plays aren't as complicated. This deck produces more complicated plays, but can exert a lot more pressure in one turn. So it's a pretty good deck, as I said. My girlfriend, we built it this past week when the set came out, and we played, and she played like her first tournament in a while. But even being a little bit rusty, she got third place in the tournament with the deck. She took third. So I'm going to get into the profile. Starting Vanguard, we're using the Innocent Magician. Generally, you don't really want to often use cards that have him. He's a typical clone of the Counterblast 1. Look at your top 5 for a grade 3. However, he works very well in this build. This build being kind of, I would say this deck is kind of like a Pale Moon version of Dope. That's kind of how I explain Chelsea to people. Like, imagine if there were a Pale Moon version of Dope. So being able to look for your Breakride, or to look for a second Chelsea so that you can do a Persona Blast, has proved very good. And there are a lot of things you can do in this deck often, like you'll use him, and then later on you can pull him back out and utilize him again if you needed to do that play. His weak power doesn't really matter when he's behind like the Breakride. So yeah, he's been working pretty well. At first we tried using Willie, the draw card, and he was decent, but in the end we realized grade 3 searching was the best. So we also didn't choose Girl Who Crossed the Gap, because although she was good, she wasn't contributing to the deck quite like this card could. So under the triggers, we have 3 Nitro Juggler and 4 Poison Juggler for 7 crits. Like any deck, pretty much, you need crits to go offensive, make your attacks threatening. Like, if you don't have crits and your opponent's at 4 and you're swinging with your Vanguard, your opponent's really not that afraid. And yeah, and in a deck that's aggressive like this deck, crits push your opponent into that corner faster. Next we have our 5 draw triggers here. Draw triggers are pretty important to the deck because it helps you draw into your combo pieces. Like, for having high draw power helps you draw your second Chelsea and stuff, as well as in a deck that can be aggressive. Sometimes you can have to throw everything out on the line, extend, and your opponent can take advantage of that and start popping cards. So having an ability to generate card advantage helps make up for that, so you can keep going. Oh, my bad, I had to sneeze. And our last is obviously our 4 heal triggers. Under the grade 1s, we have our 4 perfect guards. No need to really explain that. Then we have our 4 8K vanilla Bicorn. Often I don't use him in Pale Moon decks because I usually prefer to use cards with effects that build up your combos. However, in this deck, I found that being able to generate power to make good numbers is necessary. So that's why he's here, to make a powerful rearguard boost, and especially when he teams up with Chelsea, because she gets +3 and she's boosted. So a Bicorn behind her is hitting 21, which in this meta is pretty good. As well as with reverses coming out, you're seeing more cross rides come into the meta. So being able to have this 8k behind at least a 10k in front of it rear guard lets you actually hit a good number against the cross ride. Next we have our forward purple trapeze. This is probably the strongest card in its entire clan. In general, when you think of Pale Moon, you think of combos based around this card. So, and we're running 4 to maximum out that. She's good. Like, putting her in the soul sets up all your combos. It's like loading a gun is how I think of it. She's a bullet. And then even when you draw her, and you can utilize her to like optimize your field by trading one card for something better in soul, or having one in play, playing another, and reloading the other one back into the soul. And then our last grade 1, we have 2 Jumping Glen. This was something I highly unexpected to be playing when I approached the deck, but she's very solid. As I said, this deck needs to hit good numbers to run efficiently, especially against cross-ride decks. So loading her into the soul, and then late game being able to call her out, and she behind like an 11, and then she becomes a 10, so you turn that column into a 21 column. She's definitely proven that she is worth running in the deck. I didn't expect to like her, but in the end, she's very solid. For the grade 2s, we have our 4 barking Cerberus, and one more 10k with the doll. As I said, this deck needs good power to run effectively, so all these beat sticks are doing that job and being beat sticks. Then we have some more beat sticks. We have 3 Hippogryph. This is something, again, I didn't necessarily expect would fit into the deck, but he actually fits into the deck very well. Once you get to turn 3, your Vanguard's going to have a limit break no matter what, so he's going to be an 11k from that point on. He's been very solid. As I said, this deck needs good numbers, and him being an 11k attacker has proven the point. And then our last grade 2, we have 3 Dancing Princess. She's very good. She sets up your combos. If you need a Princess in Soul, she puts it there. If you already, or Trapeze. If you need a Glen in Soul, she puts that Glen in there. If you need a beater in there, she puts it in there. However, we're only running 3 of her because you don't want to counterblast too many times. This card is kind of low on power, and if you counterblast too many times, you're not going to be able to do your things. So, yeah, she's a good card, but we don't want to too heavily rely on her. And now onto our grade 3s. We have our 4 Breakride, Miracle Pop Ava. She's a very good Breakride. This card is really good. She blind soul charges to build up the soul, which is great. She's the main soul building resource of the deck. It's blind, unlike in Silver Thorns where you're not doing it blindly. However, she's still really solid, that she can build up that soul, and her Breakride effect is really good. When you Breakride with her, if you have a Trapeze in soul, you can attack with a right rearguard column, attack with the left rearguard column, swing with the Vanguard who broke right over top of her, move like let's say the right column in, pull out a grade 2 and a Trapeze behind it, then use Trapeze effect, move the front left column in, pull it back out. So essentially, like, you got to stand like 3 cards with that combo. There's even, you can at times take it even further than that, but this card is just really solid. And then our second grade 3 for Chelsea. Chelsea is a very good card, as I previously said. I relate her to like a Pale Moon version of Dote. The only downside is that she's only 10, that can be a problem. It'd be fantastic if she was an 11, but she's still a very good card. And you don't get to fully utilize break riding with her. Like sometimes it's more like you wish you could have more columns than you do. However, it's still like, it's just either one is good. Like if you obviously want to ride Ava first, but if you have to ride Chelsea first, it's not that bad, being that she's a 13 and she can always Persona Blast and call out cards. And then when you do break ride them, you don't necessarily even have to try to use the break ride and her together in the same turn. You can break ride, just use the break ride skill, save her skill for the following turn, so you can apply heavy pressure every turn. But in general, this deck is very fun, very good. So give it a try. Thank you for watching.